Hello there, and welcome to the daily chapter reading of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Jane Austen and Seth Grahame-Smith. Chapter 24. Miss Bingley's letter arrived and put an end to doubt. The very first sentence conveyed the assurance of their being all settled in London for the winter, and concluded with her brother's regret of not having had time to pay his respects to his friends in Hertfordshire before he left the country. Hope was over, entirely over. And when Jane could attend to the rest of the letter, she found little except the professed affection of the writer that could give her any comfort. Miss Darcy's praise occupied the chief of it. Her many attractions were again dwelt on, and Caroline boasted joyfully of their increasing intimacy. Elizabeth, to whom Jane very soon communicated the chief of all this, heard it in silent indignation. Her heart was divided between concern for her sister and thoughts of going immediately to town and dispensing of the lot of them. "My dear Jane," exclaimed Elizabeth, "you are too good. Your sweetness and disinterestedness are really angelic. You wish to think all the world respectable, and are hurt if I speak of killing anybody for any reason. Do not be afraid of my running into any excess, of my encroaching on your privilege of universal goodwill. You need not. There are few people whom I really love, and still fewer of whom I think well. The more I see of the world, the more I am dissatisfied with it, and every zombie confirms my belief that God has abandoned us as punishment for the evils of people such as Miss Bingley. My dear Lizzie, do not give way to such feelings as these. They will ruin your happiness. You do not make allowance enough for difference of situation and temper. For someone who so often speaks of our dear master, I fear you have forgotten much of his wisdom. Here we are not taught to temper our feelings. You must not be so ready to fancy ourselves intentionally injured. It is very often nothing but our own vanity that deceives us. I am far from attributing any part of Mr. Bingley's conduct to design," said Elizabeth, "but without scheming to do wrong or to make others unhappy, there may be error, and there may be misery, thoughtlessness, want of attention to other people's feelings, and want of resolution, grave offences to one's honour, all." "And do you impute it to neither of those?" "Yes, to the last. But if I go on, I shall displease you by saying what I think of persons you esteem. Stop me whilst you can. You persist, then, in supporting his sister's influence him?" "I believe it so ardently as to offer you my sword in their vanquishing." "I cannot believe it. Why should they try to influence him? They can only wish his happiness, and if he is attached to me, no other woman can secure it." "Your first position is false. They may wish many things besides his happiness. They may wish his increase of wealth and consequence. They may wish him to marry a girl who has all the importance of money, great connections, and pride." "Beyond a doubt they do wish him to choose Miss Darcy," replied Jane, "but this may be from better feelings than you are supposing. They have known her much longer than they have known me. No wonder if they love her better. But whatever may be their own wishes, it is very unlikely they should have opposed their brother. What sister would think herself at liberty to do it? If they believed him attached to me, they would not try to part us. If he were so, they could not succeed. By supposing such an affection, you make everybody acting unnaturally and wrong, and me most unhappy. Do not distress me by the idea. I am not ashamed of having been mistaken. Let me take it in the best light." Elizabeth could scarcely contain her anger. Still, Jane was her elder and leader of the sisters Bennet. She had no choice but to obey. From this time, Mr. Bingley's name was scarcely ever mentioned between them. Mrs. Bennet still continued to wonder and repine at his returning no more, and though a day seldom passed in which Elizabeth did not account for it, clearly there was little chance of her ever considering it with less perplexity. Mrs. Bennet's best comfort was that Mr. Bingley must be down again in the summer. Mr. Bennet treated the matter indifferently. "So, Lizzie," said he one day, "your sister is crossed in love, I find. I congratulate her. Next to being married, a girl likes to be crossed a little in love now and then. It is something to think of, and it gives her a sort of distinction among her companions. When is your turn to come? You will hardly bear to be long outdone by Jane. Now is your time. Here are officers enough in Meryton to disappoint all the young ladies in the country. Let Wickham be your man. He is a pleasant fellow, and might teach you something of those wifely parts of life which you, above all your sisters, have forsaken. Thank you, but I am perfectly content being the bride of death. We must not all expect Jane's good fortune. Thank you, sir. True, said Mr. Bennet, but it is comfort to think that whatever of that kind may befall you, you have an affectionate mother who will make the most of it.